Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
How's it going, Steve?
Pretty good. You?
Not bad.
Nice sunny day today.
It is. It's very nice and sunny. Yeah. We went last night, so did the show. Had to change out a door at this job I've been doing for a while now. So I'm good at demo. Like, I'm your guy. I could tear anything apart. But doors, putting doors, like take door off, no problem. Putting a door back on is the most stressful thing for me. Like, because you put it up and it has to be flush and level and all that. And then it's an old house. So nothing, it doesn't exist. Like, it doesn't have 2x4 walls because it's rough sawn lumber. So everything is a little, Andrea helped me. And I gotta be honest, I could not have done it if she didn't help me, because I just knew like doing a door was gonna be like, I don't know, I just get frustrated and I could just feel it inside. Like I'll get like, just, I don't know, like pissed off honestly inside. I'm all like, because I don't know. We bought shims, and I got it in there, and it took a little while, but I think it's good now. So that was my stressful job of the day yesterday. Today I just got to trim it out. That's easy. So, and then continue to go on and do the rest of the stuff I got to do. But I had my dad come over because the roof's really weird on this. So part of the addition that I had to keep on the house has a kitchen in it, so I couldn't tear that off the house. And the roof is different the way they come together. So my dad's been doing construction since probably before I was born. So had him come over. I'm like, hey, what should I do with this roof? Should I get rid of this roof and do something different with it? What should I do? And he said to me, he's like, no, so he kind of told me what to do. I was like, all right, cool, I'll do that. So I feel a little better about that. But, doors. And then we bought a lock, and it wasn't like a cheap one. I mean, it wasn't expensive, I guess. It was like $40 for a deadbolt and a doorknob for an exterior door. And, it didn't want to go together. Like, mess with that freaking thing longer, I think, than the door. I'm like, what the hell? But
It's always something.
But went up last night to water the garden because obviously it rained yesterday, and then not really go to water it. Went up to put the chickens back inside and then take a look, and I'm like, well, I think we can water it a little bit because the lower part, which is more shaded, stays wet longer than the top. But I was so happy. I could see some corn sprouts coming up, a potato. And then the plants that we got from Kevin and Michelle were actually they look good now.
They perked back up.
Yeah, the tomatoes, the cucumbers that have only been in there for like a day, they still look like but the ones we planted the day before, those tomatoes and Brussels sprouts look better, so I think it's going to come into it. So put another sprinkler head in there, and then I was like, I don't know what, it wasn't, have you ever had them not spin? What's the trick to that? Like, it wasn't a button or anything, I don't think. It was just, I think I don't have enough water pressure.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. So, my fix for that is, all right, I'm going to go get because I just have a little, 6-gallon tank with a pump. Because it's always been for just feeding the animals. I don't need much. Now I think I'm going to go out and get, a 40-gallon tank and stuff so that it works right. Because I don't want to mess with, I want it to work right and not have to play around with it. And yeah, you always should. Yours is downhill. I mean, yours should come out. This is an issue you have.
Yeah.
I have to look at all right. After the show, we'll have to go next door and we'll have to look at your well tank and see what's wrong with it, because maybe yours is just old. And I cranked the pressure up on mine, but still, I don't think it's so small. It's not enough water to.
I think mine is ran wrong. My pipes are probably wrong somewhere, because when I first turn on the water, scalding hot water comes out. So it's not from the sun cooking the hose water. You can go to the faucet, no hose attached, turn it on, and it's scalding hot water.
So somehow it's pulling out of the water heater then.
Right. And so I think that, when you're saying I shouldn't lose water pressure, I think what it does is it pulls all of the hot water maybe out of it does something. Or I don't have the pressure set up high enough. I don't know.
I'll have to look at it.
I don't know any of that stuff.
Well, it's set on a 20 PSI range, so 30, 50 is low. So 30 would be when the pump kicks on and 50 shuts it off. Most houses are 40, 60, which is good. This was set up at 30, 50, and I cranked it up, and it still didn't this is just a cheap Home Depot thing I bought because, like I said, it's for the farm, for the barn. And I already had one last like 2 years. I think 2 years ago. I didn't get to it in time, and it froze and broke. So I don't want to go buy an expensive, setup. But of course now I need to get something a little better up there. But so if your house, who knows what your house, some places will set theirs up for 30, 50, like an older house or whatever, because they're worried about, too much pressure. But I mean, typical pressure from a town coming in is like 75 at the regulator. So maybe you just need to bump that up. I'll look at it for you.
Man, I don't have any clue about any of that stuff.
I'll actually do it today.
Okay.
I've been driving by your pipe for a month now thinking, I'm going to help you on that one. And I keep, oops, sorry about that.
I just need to call Corey up.
Maybe, because we're going to need the camera at some point, but we'll figure that out. So, yeah, we got the fences up. I'm trying to think what else we got done yesterday. Oh, with those little flags, I was at Home Depot, and I grabbed some flags, orange ones, and she wrote. So when I was moving dirt last night, Andrea wrote what they were and put them in. So I think I've got a bunch of extras if you want some.
Sure.
Just that way.
I'd like the little plastic things that once the weeds kind of, because like I'm trying to get rid of all the weeds right now.
Oh, you have the
I'm working
little,
on that. I have like the little plastic.
No,
like
so these are like the little flags like Dig Safe puts in the ground and stuff. So it's metal, and then like a little, like these are orange. And then I bought markers too, and then you can just write what they are. So that way you don't, I mean, once they come up, you're usually fine. But like right now, it's like trying to remember what was what and where. But it's getting there. I'm excited. Like I'm actually starting to see something, and that, that's nice. Yeah.
I'm getting my corn, because I had some seedlings that I planted. So my other corn that I planted alongside those, the seeds are coming through. I mean, they're up. My winter squash is looking good. The potatoes are out. I need to cover them with another layer of dirt just because they're
coming right up.
Yeah, it looks good. Like that's the best
Nice.
part of my garden. I'm glad it's on the closest side of the driveway. So as I get it, because Nikki was like, "Oh my God, it's looking so good and green." I'm like, "Those are weeds," because the weeds are growing up kind of high. Like there's a thick carpet of, because it's so uneven. So when we were tilling it and raking it, it didn't get all the roots up. So anyway, it's green, but it's not green from. Well, it is. The tomatoes are all looking good now that I've replaced all the little seedlings that were killed by the water, the heat, or
if everything
turkey.
comes together, you're gonna have like, I don't know, we'll have to transplant stuff to other places. It'll just be so.
Well, yeah, the cool thing is I left a lot of space in between too. So
You did.
It's not like I have 160 tomato plants right up on each other. They're spaced out. Most of them are done properly. Now, some of them, the seedlings were like 3 in a pod, and so 2 of them look kind of like garbage. But I still planted them with the one that looked good, and they're like, so I have like 4 patches now of 3 good-looking tomato plants because putting them in the ground, spreading them out just a little bit, even 6 inches apart, they sprouted up. So I'm gonna have a plethora of tomatoes.
Nice.
That'll make a lot of sauce.
We had a lot of tomatoes last year, so they'll have even more this year. Yeah, Andrea went out and bought some more seeds yesterday that she didn't tell me what she got, but she's like, I want to plant them today. They were like 60 day, so whatever they were 60 day kind of. Because I'm like, well, can't be anything that's going to be too far unless we have a really nice warm fall.
I put the bird gourds in because I should have planted those a month ago when I planted everything else, but it said it takes up 90 to 120 days. So if it grows, then it'll be about October. It'll be ready if they grow. But I'm not too worried about them. That's just something that I thought would look cool, especially if I can get it to grow up over a trellis and have them hanging down.
Yeah,
make it like a nice peaceful spot.
Hey, I did see a place. It was on What's Up Newport. I think it was I can't remember the name now, but a place was selling blueberry plants.
Really?
So the cheaper they were cheaper if they were younger. But there was some 6-year-old ones. I don't know. They might have been like $75 for a plant. But if you got 2 of those, you'd probably get blueberries next year. I should probably check into that before it's too late and they're gone. Or
Runnings had everything 50% off the other day, to include the blueberry, like everything, perennials, annuals, everything was 50% off.
Just check that
After
out.
I bought you your stuff, of course,
Ah.
for your birthday. Like it must have gone on sale 2 days later because
Figures.
that's just how life is.
No, you should be able to go buy those seeds, right? And good for next year.
Yeah, they should be. So,
I mean,
because
yeah,
I
as long
planted
as they
some
stay
seeds
dry.
from last year.
Yeah, as long as they stay
I was
dry.
telling you before the show, the only thing that hasn't sprouted is the delicata, which is a winter squash, which Nikki told me to grow or asked me to grow last year. I did it, and then I ended up eating it all. Somebody from her old job told her, "Oh, those are great. They have a good." I think they last like 3 months. But butternut squash and acorn squash are the way to go for
Yeah, I love butternut squash.
long-term storage.
I'm not a big acorn squash. I love butternut squash. My mom loves Hubbard, like blue Hubbard.
I planted that out there because you had said Andrea
Yeah,
loved winter squash. So I got blue Hubbard. I got yellow or gold. I got like
all that
two or
stuff.
three different types of Hubbards.
Nice.
I got some little scallops. I'm gonna try it all out to see what works, what tastes good.
Yeah.
Pumpkins are all coming up. I did regular pumpkins as well as the gigantic show pumpkin I'm gonna try to grow.
Yeah, we'll see how that. I mean, we
But it says like once it gets established, it needs about a gallon of water a day. So I keep the 5 gallon
Just
bucket
take a gallon
underneath the sprinkler, so as it because I have the spray one, so it diffuses it,
Yeah.
and so that water falls down. So after I run the water, I get about 5 gallons of leftover, and then I take it and give extra special attention to that and anything else that because I can pretty much water all of the winter squash with 5 gallons. Because it's not that big of a patch. Just
Right,
pour it directly right on. Because I have them mounded, 2 or 3 per mound. But anyway, I'm getting excited. I'm going to do the gate today. Weather's nice. I was going to go do it last night, but it was humid out, and I didn't want to be agitated while I was building the gate. I'd rather be hot because then I can just go inside, drink a glass of ice water, cool off. But humid and hot, and mosquitoes out because it stopped raining about 2 o'clock yesterday.
yeah, even before that. It was around noon.
I'm going with 2 o'clock.
Okay. In Steve's
Steve's
World.
world, it was 2 o'clock.
it was 2 o'clock,
And so so
but it was funny because obviously I worked all weekend. It was hot, but actually I felt yesterday was worse
yeah, it was.
because it was muggy. It's like I was working in the shade and I'm like sweating. I'm like, this sucks. Like this, and he's just like, yeah, it's because it's muggy, and you can't even hide out in the shade. Where over the weekend in the shade, felt like AC if you're out in the field and then went into the shade. But yeah,
I weeded the garden a couple. Well, I'm still only like 3 rows deep, so I still have 15 more rows to weed. But I worked on that because you can just sit down and pull. And my brother has my good weed eater, so I have a electric battery powered weed eater that's a little bit it's not as powerful. So actually, I feel kind of better in case the string goes out too far. I can catch it, whereas my other gas-powered one, if I get too close, I might just take the whole plant out. So, all kind of, this is all stuff to keep me busy, to keep me out of the house, so Nikki can relax and watch whatever she wants to do. She cooked a lot of good food yesterday because she flipped her work schedule around a little bit, so she didn't work yesterday.
so she cooked a lot of good food yesterday after I left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she does meal prep, so she'll make teriyaki chicken, rice, and broccoli. And then put it in containers, and then if Zayda and I get hungry, she takes them to work.
It's been like 2 weeks since I've gotten breakfast here.
I'll talk to Nikki on Friday.
Friday's the next day off.
Unless you want me cooking your breakfast, which will be Lucky Charms or Rice Krispies. That's about my breakfast cooking. I'm not a good. I can cook pancakes and French toast, but I mean that's an ordeal.
I love pancakes and French toast.
Yeah, well, that means I gotta get up at 6. It's a process for me. I take a lot of pride in my French toast. So I fry it and then I do it in the oven for 20 minutes. Let that outer shell kind of crisp up, and then you get the soft bread on the inside. I don't know, some recipe I saw a long time.
Now you make me hungry. You gotta stop talking about food. One thing I did want to say though is that if anyone out there is interested, we're selling eggs now because we're finally get to the chickens are laying basically 12 a day, so it's 7 dozen a week. We don't need 7 dozen a week in our family, but
Are we getting paid for this advertisement?
I am. No, so if you're interested in fresh eggs, $4 a dozen. They're $5 at the store, and these are fresh. And then if you crack a fresh egg, just so you know, it's more an orangey yolk, because it's fresh. When you go to the store and you crack them, they're yellow. It's because they're not fresh eggs. They've been sitting around for a little while. So that's the difference. But we're hoping if we could sell 4 dozen a week, that would pay for 1 bag of food, which should cover a week, which is all we're looking for. Because like
You're not looking to make money.
we're not looking to make any money. We just literally are like, hey, if we could pay for the grain, which would cover that, because the cows and the pigs are the ones that eat the most. And so, anyways, if you're interested, you can reach out on Facebook to me and just be like, hey, I'm interested and can meet you in town or whatever. $4 a dozen. You can get more than 1 dozen, whatever you want to get. And they're good for like, I'll double check, but it's like 90 days. We don't refrigerate them at first because you can keep them out for a certain amount of time.
That's the way they do it in Europe.
Yeah, and then once you refrigerate them.
Allegedly. I've never been to Europe. Well, I have, but not.
Not for fun, yeah. No, so once you refrigerate them, then the shelf life is shorter than if you keep them out. So, yeah, they're good.
No roosters, so there's no.
Not yet. No
chance of getting a.
Yeah, no. You won't get
That's
any.
my biggest fear when I get fresh eggs.
Well, if for that to happen, though, you'd have to have a rooster and you'd have to miss the egg for a while. We don't miss the eggs. So, I mean, we have coop's 8 by 8. So, at some point, we do want to get a rooster, though. We got to find one, which usually is people give
Ours
them
are
away.
9 by 9, no big deal.
Yeah, 9 by 9.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Super Troopers.
Oh, the cells.
She goes, ours are 8 by 8. He goes,
Yeah.
ours are 9 by 9, no big deal. Anyway.
I love Super Troopers. Anyways, speaking of not Super Troopers, speaking of Super Troopers, I left Home Depot yesterday and saw Chief running down the track, down the trail, and I beeped. He just in his own little world. And I texted him and he's like, "Yeah, he's taking a day or two off because he's got like vacation, I don't know, whatever." And because remember last week he talked to us, he hadn't run, so I was like, "Oh, it was nice to see him out there running." And then he was working this weekend because I called the PD because I was pissed off. On Saturday, I went down to get my excavator to bring it to the land, and so I'm working near the rec center. I could see over there, and that's where the trailhead is, so people bring 4-wheels and stuff. It was just, I'm assuming kid, but like teenager or something out there, doing like donuts, just tearing up the yard everywhere, causing dust, going up by the rec center and just messing around. And it was 3 people, like total over there. And then these people come through on a bike, and I'm like, what the hell? You could hit them. So I call the PD. I'm like, do you have an officer like send over here? Because I shouldn't probably go talk to him myself. And I was like really pissed. I was really like, I was gonna say something. I'm like, well, there's 3 of them, one of me. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll call the PD. Of course, the time that PD is gonna get there, they're leaving. So I took a video of it happening, so that way if they denied it, if the police officer showed up. And then as I was leaving, they were leaving, so the 2 4-wheelers left down the trail, but the truck that brought them there was coming out. As I look over as I come out, and I'm like, so I took the plate number, I texted the chief, and I don't know if anything could happen. I guess it was a pretty busy Saturday. It was a crazy day. A lot of stuff happening. So, but I was just mad. Normally I don't get mad like that, and they're assholes. I think that's probably what got me. Yeah, that probably got me more because
those Massachusetts plates.
You just come up here to like tear up our area and stuff, and then you don't pay tax. You don't.
That's not their town. They have
or you come up to your summer home or whatever, and
right.
It pissed me off. And I've seen it happen a few times while I've been working there, and I didn't say anything. And then it just kind of, that was the day. I was like,
enough is enough.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. And just sucks because they're busy. A lot of times I could come right over, and you don't have to ticket them. Just be like, listen, you're gonna act like that, whatever. I mean, he had a helmet on and stuff, but it's not the point. It's not your property. I don't care what you do on your property.
Right.
It's state property or town property when you're over the rec
Just
center.
like that story I told with Chief when my buddy Jeff was doing donuts in the parking lot,
right.
And I took off, not for any other reason than I didn't want to be associated with that, because my parents raised me better than to act like that.
Right. Yeah.
Now, even at my pawpaws, who had a farm, like if I did that in an area where I was not allowed to do that,
you would.
I'd get in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And trust me, there was no area for that. So like I couldn't even do it on the farm
right.
because I'd tear up his land.
Right.
Right. So I don't know. I agree with you there. I say we, Zeta had to call the police yesterday.
Because of the dogs?
Yeah, Minnie and Zoe took off again.
I saw it on Facebook. You didn't even let me know. I saw it on Facebook, and then luckily Zeta, so Allie shared it, and then luckily I saw on comments that Zeta's like, oh, we found him. Because I was like, oh,
That's twice
no.
now, though. Like, we didn't call the cops, I don't think, on Friday or Saturday when it happened, but yesterday because they were gone.
Just to let them know.
Like, yeah. In
Because
case somebody found them. And
a lot of dogs are showing up at the PD lately. I've seen on What's Up
yeah,
Newport. Do you recognize this dog?
That's what Zeta said.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, Dad, they're cool about it. So she called and talked to the dispatch, and then they transferred her. She was on speaker. I couldn't hear who the officer was. But anyway, they were very nice and cool and said, yeah, if anybody calls us, we'll either bring them or
And they
link
just
back up with you.
came back.
No, Nikki found them with the neighbors. I think one of the neighbors called her while she was still driving around looking. Because it was her fault yet again. Something about Nikki and Rob make those dogs bolt. They don't bolt on me, Zeta. Well, Zeta doesn't really take them out. They don't bolt on me or Tina, Rob's wife, or Rob's kids. But Nikki and Rob, there's some pent up, because Nikki doesn't really care. Like, she doesn't not like the dogs, but she has no patience because she thinks JJ's a perfect angel. Because he'll come back, even if he takes off at a quick
He's a good boy.
If you call him, he stops and comes right back, where these dogs don't necessarily. They do for me, but not for Nikki.
I think it's
or
the
Rob.
little one that's causing the issue.
But well, I used to think it was Molly, the chocolate lab. But both times she stayed right here with JJ, and they just, chocolate
But
lab
Minnie will
both
stay with
around.
JJ too.
Yeah, so when Minnie was here by herself, they took off running. I called, and they both came back.
It's that little,
The new puppy,
what is it?
Labrador poodle mix,
What do they call those?
Labra
No, it's
doodle.
Labradoodle. Yeah.
I don't really like that word, so that's why I always say Labrador poodle mix.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm an old enough man to where I don't need to be saying something like Labradoodle.
I think they're ugly dogs.
I mean, she is a cute puppy. But
She's a cute
out of
puppy.
control. She jumps on, like, she does not like Nikki. Like, Nikki walks down the hall, she'll run and jump. And
She jumped up on Andrew and stuff and we pulled in and stuff. It was kind of funny, and we're cool. Like, we
I'm
understand.
working, the week that I've had her here, I've been working on it because she likes to lick, and I can't stand being licked by a dog because I don't know where their mouth has been.
Yeah, you do.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Now, how long? When does Rob come back?
They got back at about probably 12:30 last night, so he should be over at any point this morning, hopefully, to pick them up.
Oh, so good news then.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks from now, Nikki's puppy that she just magically found, even though I'm pretty sure she was on a wait list for the last 8 months. It's a charcoal lab. But Rob did say, I guess there's a thing called Halo that Caesar Milan put out. So if you don't know about this, there's a collar, and he said the collars are $1,000, so it's expensive. But then you have an app, and you can go trace a property line on that app, and the collar will buzz them whenever they get to the thing. So if they're trained on, getting shocked or buzzed, so he can drop them off over here in the future, go on his app, make a circle around like my driveway,
Yeah.
and then it'll keep them in there, and we don't have to have all the wire because the wire is expensive.
That's cool. I would so do that because we cannot let Jingles off the leash because when she was younger, she was good. She stayed in the yard. Not anymore. And then she doesn't come back. She'll come back when she wants to come back, but she doesn't listen. And at the land, we want to have her go because we have a lot of land, but stay. So that would actually be.
Yeah, it's called Halo. So if anybody's out there, you got property and you got dogs that are nice.
Right.
These dogs aren't gonna.
Right, they're not going to listen to it because. Yeah. So you have to train them with the shock collar first, so they know. Which is the same way the electric boundary fence works. But yeah, $1,000 a lot. But if you have an area like this, it'd be a lot more to have the.
Yeah. So his house in Colorado
fence.
has 10 acres, so he'll be able to just trace out.
That's cool.
How much he wants on the 10 acres, and then he'll at least know they're in that boundary if they take off. Because his dogs are trained on that. Because Molly, his chocolate lab. She wouldn't come past a certain point in the driveway the other day when I got here because last time she was here, I have it here. I just never set it up because they don't run off on me, only on Nikki and Rob. But she wouldn't go past where she got shocked last time. So she still remembered it from 2 years ago because it's like a wireless one. So it just broadcasts a 200-foot
okay.
radius or diameter area. So I think it might be a little bit more than that, 250. But anyway, so she got to the edge of the driveway and wouldn't go like to the pond because she thought if she walked over off the driveway, she'd get shocked. So they have good memories, dogs do. At least Molly does, the chocolate lab.
Yeah. The little one just...
Yeah, she's happy to... She just wants trouble. She's the one, I think, that got up and got the butter dish and broke it. She might have some glass in her stomach. No, that's old Robintine already.
Oh. So we didn't just accidentally...
No, they know. She's a counter surfer. So anyway, Halo, look into it if you're having an issue.
Yeah, you think Halo,
It's
I think it's
expensive.
a video game, but
Yeah.
same thing.
Oh, Cesar Milan.
So local news is hard to find. That's why we're talking as much today, because I don't know if it's the time of year or what it is, but it's hard. Without the school having news, it's hard to find stuff. But so speaking of school, it's kind of cool because for the last 3 days, I think 3 days, they do like a position of the day on their Facebook page. Yesterday's, and they do it, of course, a little bit later than we do the show, but so yesterday's is a high school social studies teacher. So obviously the school's still looking for help. And if any of these fit, please reach out to them, because if we don't get people soon, there probably won't be positions filled, which will be not good. So yeah, social studies teacher. Yesterday was assistant principal for Richards is one of them. Same thing with bus drivers and paras and all that. And then farmers market 3 to 6 on the Common on Fridays. And then, I still didn't look again. Concert on Common 6 to 8 on Sundays. I was at La Valley's yesterday, and I should have grabbed it. It was a whole summer schedule. I think I said just cruising, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But tomorrow because I want to tell everybody the concert, for the week that's coming up. And then, next Saturday is the July 9th is the Goshen Fire Department's chicken barbecue. $12, pre-buy. Reach out to them.
And you said theirs is pretty good usually?
Yeah, I've never had Goshen's, but...
Oh, you were talking about Croydon's.
Yeah, Croydon's used to be really good. Newport's Rosari's, like I said, Newport's Rosari's it could be more burnt. But they changed some stuff, too, since they used to do, I don't know, a couple hundred at a whack kind of thing. And if you don't constantly flip it, you'll burn it, But it's Fireman's Chicken Czar is really good. So, and it benefits the Goshen Fire Department Association, Service Association. So, and then I keep seeing this, like I said, saying don't buy gas July 3rd through the 5th, just to be like...
Hey, we may not be able to afford gas July 3rd through the 5th. I mean, I'm pimping a Halo, not pimping it, but it's out there. It's just expensive.
Yeah.
Right? The gas is expensive.
Yeah, my truck was on a quarter. I put $100 in it.
It
still didn't. It shut off, and now I'm done. I'm not going to put my card in. Start my truck, and it was still not full. It was between 3/4 and full, but seriously, it's crazy.
It's all a giant vicious circle.
Yeah.
Because, Biden's right when he says that they're making massive profits. They're right when they say, well, we're not really investing anything because you said your goal is to get rid of us.
Right.
And so that gives them the cover, right, while they're making all this money, which I am not mad at anybody for making money, but at what point in time is enough? It's like you start an investment, and all of a sudden you have these lofty ideals, and then you get some investors in there, right? Because you're like, oh, let's expand, and you have this great product. And the next thing you know, the investors are like, I want a return on my money, and then you lose all the niceties. Kind of like with Ring. I really liked my Ring until Amazon took it over.
They sold it.
And then Amazon wants to connect me to other houses and all kinds of stuff. And it's, no, thank you. I don't want to be a part of Amazon's spy network of Alexa. And when I say spy, I mean it's constantly listening to improve its algorithm and everything else. I'm not necessarily talking about anything nefarious.
Right.
But they spy on you. We've proven it in the sense of we can talk about something and it'll show up either to buy on Amazon or some type of feed on YouTube. So like the microphones are now listening to us. We know that.
Not these microphones, but these microphones.
Right. So anyway, like I'm not all about that. So I really actually got to come up with something different than these rings to get them off the internet and get it on like my own private intranet that I can access, when I'm not home.
Yeah. So today we're talking about weather. It's going to be 80, partly cloudy. Tomorrow, 86, mostly sunny. Thursday, 84, mostly sunny. And then this is the one that gets me. This is the Friday, partly cloudy, 97.
Yeah, so you got to watch your cattle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a 17-degree increase from today, but allegedly that could be enough to take down a large bovine creature.
Yeah. Sure. Sure is.
Even though they're all alive in Texas.
So this meme of the day, I sent this to your wife. I don't know if she noticed it, like, fully. So don't let them convince you sudden adult death syndrome is normal and healthy adults just die in their sleep for no reason. You're smarter than that. But do you see the signature on the bottom?
Dr. Nicole Morris?
Yes! I saw this on Facebook, and I sent it to her, and I was like, did you make this?
She's not a doctor.
Close enough.
She has her master's, nurse practitioner.
I know, but still. You still would refer to her as doctor. I mean...
No, you should say Miss Morris. Mrs. Morris.
Well, I just be like, hey, Nikki, but like, you know what I'm saying?
It's Mrs. Morris.
Sure it is.
Hey, I'm Southern. My whole parental, like, it bothers me that Zeta doesn't say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. Like, she used to only say it when she was in trouble. And I'm like, Zeta, that's just respectful to say it. Like, we're your elders, always going to be your elder. But anyway, so moving up here to the north where they don't do that either, I guess, worked out for her. But she knows, you know what I mean? She knows that she's supposed to do it.
Yeah. So, this is poll.
So, Mrs. and ma'am.
So,
Just messing with you.
I know you are. So, some people will be like, Steve, he's a real jerk. Listen to him over there talking. I know.
I have a very dry sense of humor.
I know.
I'm very sarcastic. I like the show Toast of London. Like, that's very dry.
British people have a lot of dry
Yeah.
humor a lot of times. Yeah. So, you had a correction.
Oh, yes. So yesterday, when I was talking, rambling on, I had said that there were two towns. But what it is
For
the study that I was referencing that I looked at a while back that I was doing off the cuff. But it was, and I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to look
YouTube.
at it, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that people will disagree with this, and
Which is fine.
Yeah, but it's Hillsborough County and Rockingham County, so it's two counties where they suspect that there's fraud going on, and and you could read through the article and disagree with it, and a mathematician can probably show us where they made their mistakes if there are any. But anyway. What it does is it looks at the trends of voter registration and anomalies.
Right.
And when I talk about this, it's not necessarily for Republican or Democrat. Like,
Right.
I've lived in, I don't know, 8 or 9 different cities, over the past couple decades. And a lot of times I would hear or see stories on the news. Granted, I voted in Texas, right? I did absentee ballot because I was in the military, and I love my home state. So I always voted in Texas. But when I lived in South Carolina, Tennessee, Hawaii, it seemed like there was always a trunk of ballots that was found at the next morning, and then the election flipped. And so I've always been suspect of that. I studied political science in college. That was my passion, and part of that was also studying the relationship between journalists and politics and the military and politics. So I studied it extensively. And so when I see data like this, it gives me pause for concern, whether it's for Democrats or Republicans. I just want a free election. free and fair.
Right.
And so if it is, then that's fine. But for me individually, stop hiding behind things and saying, well, you're a conspiracy theorist if you don't believe that what I'm saying is true. Well, that's not how you argue. What you say is, here's all the data. This is what it looks like. This is what the data looks like over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And then you can compare it, and then you find out and see. And so in this case, it was, like I said, the 2 counties. And it was done by Seth Kessel and the election fraud, electionfraud20.org. And he had looked at the New Hampshire, and I'll put that link in there. So,
Yeah.
and this isn't like pro-Republican or pro-Democrat. I've said it on here many times that we should vote for people who aren't establishment politicians,
Yeah.
Democrat or Republican.
Absolutely.
Like like we can agree to disagree on, parties or whatever, but I just think that we need people who aren't establishment politicians.
Right.
Because I believe that we can represent ourselves, that we don't need an elite class of people, because you can make decisions based on what you see with your own eyes, what you feel, and what your constituents say. And that's the way it should be, not what Dartmouth Hitchcock tells you to vote on.
Right. Exactly.
Because they have a lot of power, like on the medical side.
Right. No, yeah, definitely.
So anyway, that's my point. So I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not mad at you, whichever way you vote. I'm just saying, just get the facts. And these facts might be wrong, or you can prove me wrong, and I'll have a discussion with you. Because, I didn't collect this data. I'm looking at it, and I'm putting a little bit of trust in what they're doing, because I have seen with my own eyes anomalies that don't make sense to me. Like, how can you always have a trunk full of ballots? Like, at all the different places I live, like, at some point in time, someone's got to be like, all right, why are we putting ballots in someone's trunk?
Yeah.
Like, nationally, somebody should say, all right, no more transporting in trunks, because it creates distrust. Right? Like, if I've seen that enough, then I'm like, I don't really trust this, because they're going to find a box of ballots tomorrow.
Right.
Possibly.
Or at 3 a.m. the vote suddenly.
Yeah. So, I mean, those kinds of things, they don't garner trust. So for anybody to just tell me, well, just trust it. We've been doing this. Well, no. Like, if you go back, the Democrats said after the 2016 election, don't trust it, that it can be rigged, just the same way that the Republicans did after this last one. And now, because it's a Republican saying it, you're a terrorist and you don't love your country if you say it. And that's like the worst way that you can try to win an argument, because that's how you know you've lost. Like, you've lost the argument once you try to sit there and discount me because of you don't like who might have won.
Right.
If it was manipulated, you don't like that Trump would have won. Well, tough cookie. If Biden won and there was no cheating, I can accept that. But there's enough evidence over the last 2 elections where both parties have said that there's fraud going on. And I don't believe that fraud should exist for either party.
No, because
I think it should be a free and fair election.
Right. Men and women died for your freedom and your rights to vote. It
Right.
should be our vote actually should count.
Well, the young men and women that raise their right hand and serve, not all of them do it for altruistic ideals. Some of them are just trying to escape a bad home life, bad town, bad circumstances. Some of them are doing it for college. Then some of them are doing it because their families have served over the last few centuries.
Right.
And that's part of their family tradition, is to go out and serve their country. And part of that is not we're going to serve while we're getting bamboozled at the ballot box, and we're not serving people who are doing what the people want them to do. So anyway, that's my take. I don't want anybody to misconstrue me. So anyway, it was 2 counties. I think I said 2 towns. I was going off of my memory, and I should have had it in front of me like this. But Hillsborough and Rockingham. There's some anomalies there that should be looked at.
Yeah, Wyndham was the town they did the recount.
Town, right.
And they said it was the creases, whatever. So, whatever. But yeah, we wanted to clarify that.
The hanging chads of 2000, right? The creases,
Yeah.
the hanging chads. I mean, there's got to be a better way of doing this.
You would think. All the technology and stuff we have, and yeah.
Or you just take the technology out of it.
Right. Just do it old school.
Old school.
Just count them.
Yeah. Get some volunteers in there and have everybody double, triple check each other. Wouldn't take that long, not in like our town anyway.
Right. Bigger towns would be a little harder, but
Maybe.
Exactly. Just get
Bigger
more people.
towns have like different polling locations usually too, right? Or is that just down and bigger? Like, I'm from
cities do.
Yeah, cities.
But I don't know, like like Manchester, for instance. I'm not sure if there's multiple. I think,
There's got to be multiple. You can't have all of Manchester going to one place to vote.
but how would they keep the?
They drive them over in the trunks of their car and they bring them back to one central location. That's probably how it happens.
Maybe, but I'm just thinking if you're say you live in Manchester, how and you go to the school, say to vote, and the other polling locations, I don't know, VFW, whatever, I don't know, and then so you have two different locations. How does one location know you didn't vote at the other location? I guess would be because like here they check your name off the physical paper they have, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how they do that.
In New Hampshire, I don't know. They may
Well,
just be one, but I am sure like New York
So like
City.
where my parents live down in Texas, so there's a voting location like in their subdivision, but I'm pretty sure there's another voting location like at a school. So they all got to come together at certain times, and maybe it's electronic, maybe that's how they track it, or it's all right. Morris's, you live here, so you vote only here, and so then they get the
That's true.
print up.
So maybe they
So
split
you
this-
can't go like if you live near that school, you can't go to the other school across town and vote, or if you do, then you're committing fraud, possibly.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a Washington, no, there's a Boston Globe poll, which is scary in a way. So it looks good, right? Like 69% in heavily Democrat region say that Biden shouldn't run again. The scary part is that 31% of these people actually think he should.
I think that's just a narrative.
31% of the people in this
The people
poll,
who still are out there supporting Biden can't accept the fact that he is not doing the best he can for this country.
seriously, you don't have to support a Republican. You don't have to that's cool. But if you still support this moron, you must be a moron. You have to
Especially
be.
if that picture's true, where it basically lays out to him what he's allowed to do and not do.
That picture's true. That was everywhere.
You've seen the Easter Bunny blocking him from talking to people. There's just all kinds of craziness going on that just doesn't make any sense. Like if you take away the emotion and the loyalty and everything else, and you look at it pragmatically, like even with the election stuff, like if we just have a conversation about it, because there's probably flaws in here, right? Everybody has flaws, and it's gonna. If this is what he's looking for, there might be a skew in there to show. And you might be a better mathematician and can show me, but getting angry at me for it, for doing my due diligence, reading through that, and I read through this a while ago, that's why I messed it up when I talked about it off the cuff yesterday. But just have a conversation about it, and let's talk about it, and agree to either disagree, or maybe we come to a solution like, all right, well, it's not that bad. I hope it's not that bad, but I have a feeling that
It is.
I've seen enough with my own eyes, and I don't live in 1984 yet, so I still believe my eyes.
Right.
Like you can't convince me what I have seen, and my experience has shown me that a trunk full of ballots has been found in multiple locations that I've lived. And I get it; there's mistakes that happen, but come on.
Or the ballot place in New
And
York burnt to
and
the
it
ground.
flips the election every time. So it's not just that they find ballots. Like it'd be one thing if like, oh, we got these ballots we got to count, but then that
Right.
trunk full is
Was
enough
just for one candidate.
Yeah, just enough to switch the whole entire process. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm not unreasonable, right? Like you can have a mistake and somebody
Right.
grabbed them at the last second and forgot to turn them in, but whenever it's skewed so much that it flips an election.
Listen, there's no way in hell Basement Boy got 81 million votes.
No way. Like, I got it. People hate Trump, and people will tell you people voted just against Trump.
Right.
Even you know what I mean. So I get that probably happened, but if you look at, so in my town that I grew up in on Lake Houston, there was a boat parade, and they've never had that many boats on that lake ever. Like it was almost a safety hazard. They had so much. Miles and miles of traffic also on the way there with all the Trump flags and everything else. And then Biden shows up for a campaign stop and there's 12 circles and 11 people and 10 of them are journalists. Come on.
Like, that's what we just want you to use.
Unless I'm being bamboozled and
But
that's
no, use your
manipulating.
common sense. Like, how is it possible? How? So if you get 50,000 people at a rally and you get 500, and that's really giving a lot.
He never had 500,
No.
I don't think.
50.
Not once.
Like, how?
Maybe he did. But
How? Anyways.
I mean, we could be getting manipulated, and they just show us those clips. But then again, the news media is totally anti-Trump at that point in time.
They're still anti-Trump.
Yeah, I got it. But like, and I'm not saying I've said it on here before. Trump is part of the issue when he signed those $1 trillion aid packages.
Right.
Everything, you know.
And we know he's a jerk.
Yeah. Like,
That's the problem, though. If you talk to a lot of people and you ask them why they didn't like him, that's exactly why. Because he's a pompous ass. That's it. It wasn't his policies per se. It wasn't, some people it was his policies, but a large majority, he's a jerk.
right. So
That's not the reason to choose freaking
but people
Sleepy
did.
Joe.
So people did choose Biden or someone else over that for that particular reason. But I
Right.
don't think
81 million.
Well, let's just say 16 million, right? Because was it 81 to 65 or?
I don't know. It's like 81 million. They said he got the most in any candidate in the history of this country. Yet he only got like a quarter of the counties that Obama did. So I don't know.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, numbers don't
and
add
you can't sit here and be like, well, you're a conspiracy theorist if you believe that. Well, no. Like, use logic and reason.
But they have to take the emotion out of it. You have to not be emotional about it, and you have to logically look at it. So forget it. It's Trump. It's freaking Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse running against each other. And now look at the concept of the overall numbers. Because you have to look at it that way. You can't be like, oh, I hate Trump. Because you're blinded by it.
Yeah.
You can't be. Like, sure, did I vote for Trump? Yes, I did. Do I think he's a nice person? No, not a nice person. He's a jerk. Did I think he did some good things for the country? Yeah, I do.
He did some bad things, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Operation Warp Speed with that whole...
Is our country worse?
Nobody was going to take, by the way, when it was under Trump. But
Right.
then once Biden became president, it became take the vaccine.
But I look at it, are we better today than we were 2.5 years ago?
Absolutely not.
Nah, no.
No.
I'm not saying if he runs again, I'd vote
Putin's
for
fault,
him.
by the way. Everything is Putin's fault.
Yes.
Even though everything was going downhill before he launched his attack on Ukraine, then it just switched the narrative to where it's Putin's fault. But before that, it was transitory. They made up all kinds of stuff to try to keep people calm. And part of it is they're trying to switch over. My personal take is that they're trying to take us to the new Green New Deal without any plan in place. So, like you said it before, if we're having rolling blackouts now with energy that we should have available to us, what's going to happen when you have millions of cars that need to plug in and charge?
There should be no electricity. It's all going to go out.
Right. So, like, I got it. You want to go to electric cars, and some places it makes sense. If you live in a city and you're only going to be driving a 15-block radius.
Okay.
But if you're living in the country and you got to drive and it's snowing out, I don't want to get caught on the highway with them.
Okay, so right now we buy an electric car. They've already approved it. So July, our rates are going to double.
Double.
And now we're going to add an electric car to it. So take away, okay, this is what I'm spending on gas a month. Take that out. Put that in the equation. You're still going to pay way more money. Oh, but it's good for the environment. Pound sand.
And I saw a study, and I didn't do my due diligence to see if it was biased or whatever, but it was like over the last 40 years, it's 0.1 degree warmer or something like that, or it's barely even increased. And you can see pictures from islands with like lighthouses on it from 120 years ago, and the water is at the exact same level, assuming that it's not a Photoshop copy, right? But like there's no...
Here's the other thing.
The oceans aren't rising right now anyway.
So...
With my own observations.
I thought of this like a while back, but so if the ice caps are melting, right, and it comes in, and everyone's like, it's putting, like the water level's going to go up. Well, if you take a glass of water and put ice cubes in it, the water goes up from the ice cubes. As it melts, it goes back down. So unless all this ice is on land, which it's not.
I think there's a big landmass underneath Antarctica. So some of that is on land.
But isn't most of the stuff that was melting like north of the...
A lot of it, according to some stuff that I read over the last few years, has replaced itself. It's kind of like the ozone layer. Remember how in the 90s...
Oh, when I was a kid, oh my God, ozone layer was gone.
From the ozone layer.
Stop using aerosol cans.
Right. and now you
I
don't
mean,
really
you
hear
literally
about
go
it
back over the
anymore.
last 100 years. Is every 10 years there's some fluke thing they.
Yeah, it used to be global cooling.
It
I'm
was
pretty
global
sure.
cooling. It was. It was. No, it really was. Like
But
it's
that's because we're altruistic. Deep down, all of us want to do the right thing, right? So if you
right.
hear it and you intrinsically trust what you're being told, then you want to do something. So I'm not mad at anybody for it. I'm just saying discern a little bit. Look at history. Like nobody studies history anymore. Look at history and see, because history has a way of repeating itself.
But none of the actions we ever take are actually helpful. Like we're going to do a carbon tax. So what is raising taxes going to do to help the issue? Oh, it's just going to put money in your pocket, right? Like complete crock.
Yeah.
The climate czar flying all over the world, spending millions and millions of our money, and they won't release any of his financial stuff until 2024 when this term is up. We don't know what he gets paid, how much it costs, nothing. All big secret.
When I was in the military, I had a contract that I was responsible for. And let me tell you, I had to submit paperwork on me, Nikki, I had to include my in-laws, my parents, to make sure that I wasn't getting like some kickback for based on whatever contract ultimately was chosen, because it was a very valuable contract. So if I had to do that as a major in the Army, why aren't the people in charge of me having to do that? Right?
That's a good question.
Or if they are they looking into it? So let's say they are doing, which I don't think that they are, because
They're not.
the congressmen and women make $170 some odd thousand a year, and then after like 2 or 3 terms, if they're in, their income balloons exponentially sometimes.
Amazing. Coincidence. Straight
But I'm a
coincidence.
conspiracy theorist. I mean, that's out there. You can look that up.
So I saw this thing. I'm like, this
I recommend looking it up.
man.
Don't trust anything I say. If anything, ask yourself questions and prove me wrong.
Good luck.
Well, I mean, and I might be wrong, because we're all biased. Like that's the thing about it. Like we know that we're biased a little bit,
Yeah.
a lot maybe on certain things.
Yeah. Depends what it is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, African swine fever that can kill
Oh.
pigs. I saw this
You're
like.
gonna have to start killing all the pigs across America now.
So I saw that, and I'm like, really?
The government's gonna come for your hogs.
Good luck there. And then there was also another story. The East Tennessee food processing plant's closing, 200 jobs. So, we talked about all the food processing places that burnt, and this one's just seriously going to close. And, yeah.
Well, we were talking about that, and I was talking to a gentleman who works at a food processing plant in Vermont, and they have a hard time hiring people, and they're offering benefits. The pay is really well, and so they had to go from, if you brought your 3 pigs in there, so they don't do that anymore. Now they do it in bulk. So the smaller farmers are losing out now on having that ability. At least that's one less processing plant that they can go to, because they used to do, you bring in 1 pig and they'll do it for you.
Right.
And now it's like, no, you got to have a whole herd to make it worth their while, because they don't have enough people. So why aren't people working?
Right. And this one in East Tennessee was like they're laying off 200 people, so it's not.
Well, they're saying 200 jobs lost, but
Right.
how many of those jobs haven't been filled for a while? You know what I mean? So, like,
I mean,
yes,
that's
it looks
possible too, yeah.
nefarious,
Right.
but also at the same time, we have this
Right,
problem
right.
where people aren't wanting to work. So,
True.
it has like 2 prongs to it. Is number one, it's not good for our food supply system,
Right.
regardless of the reason, right? So, like, just throw
Exactly.
the reason out there for that. And it's not good because that's 200 more jobs lost that, or maybe they were filled or maybe not. I'm just
Right.
basing it on
Yeah.
what's going on in Vermont.
Yeah.
Just hard to find people to work.
Yeah.
In every industry.
Every industry. I don't get it. I still don't. I'd love someone to sit in that chair and tell me what's happening, because I haven't had to figure that out yet. So,
Well, especially with the way everything is increasing in cost. Like, I have a pension, and you know what I mean? Like, at a certain point in time, I may have to go back to work. I may not be able to live my dream of being retired at 41.
yeah.
That was always my dream.
So, we'll skip, because you just tied that, we'll skip to this one real quick. So last year, Biden had toted that 16 cents less for 4th of July barbecues this year. This year, the average cost is up $10. Suppose you'll talk about that?
Probably not.
No.
He'll get angry at you if you ask him a question about it.
It's true.
He'll deflect and turn it around on Putin. And
If it's not on his little cheat sheet, he won't know what to say and do. So the DA, there's a DA. So a California suspect had enough fentanyl he was arrested with to kill 12 million people.
Was it the stuff from our hospital down there?
No, I'd love to know if
What
someone can
happened with that?
answer.
Did we ever figure out?
No, and I'd love to know how many people that could have killed. Because if they're like, well, that
I mean,
only
they put
killed
that
a
in
million.
like a city water supply. That's, I don't know. I don't know if that
Don't
would do
say
anything.
that crap
or
on
not.
the air.
No, I'm
Nah,
just
I probably
saying, like, that's
diluted
worst
enough.
case scenario.
That's like Batman stuff there.
Yeah, I don't know, like how.
I think it would dilute it too much.
I hope so.
Because, a million gallons of water, Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It might destroy it too when it meet.
I'm just
I don't
curious
know.
what kind of sentence he'll get. I mean, it's California, so he's probably already on the street.
Yeah, he's probably already back on the street negotiating.
Next time they'll arrest him for $14 million, and I don't know. 43 people found dead in an 18-wheel in San Antonio, 16 hospitalized, and this number may fluctuate because, and I heard that updated number this morning. All illegals.
Bringing them across the border.
Yep. No AC, no water. I guess I could hear people in there like crying for help. Some guy went over and opened it, or it was open and looked. And but can you just imagine now, like 43 people?
Well, you also got to imagine how bad their life must have been for them to run. Right?
Yeah. So,
I mean, I have compassion.
Yeah. No, this isn't a like whatever.
Right.
So you think this country's so bad? 43 people just died
Tried to sneak
trying
in.
to come into this country because that's how bad their country is. So you should really remember that every day is, and we talk about, it's hard to find positive stories. It really is. And some of these things like we talk about because we want to talk about it. But remember, there's 43 people died yesterday wanting to come into this country. And that's just this story.
Right.
There's people that would die trying to get from Cuba to here. Remember, especially back in the 90s and stuff. Like, so with all our flaws.
80s, 90s.
80s, yeah. But with all our flaws, our country's still.
There's still hope.
Yeah. When you talk about these stories, not the drug ones, but like the political stuff and whatever, it's to wake people up and say, we have a great country and we have to step up because the corruption's everywhere.
Right.
Both parties. I've never once sat here and be like, oh, no, it's just them. No. They're all corrupt. Every freaking one of these politicians. They have different levels of corruption and everything. The longer they're there, obviously, the more corrupt they are. We got to wake up before our country's like just.
Yeah, we all need to participate.
You have to vote.
You have to vote. You need to show up to
Make sure the votes count.
meetings.
It's important. Show up
to
to
make
meetings.
sure our town is squared away.
Yeah. Show up
Like,
to your.
take care of our town first and work our way out. Like,
Yeah, because fixing the federal is hard.
yeah, that's huge.
That's
just fodder to talk to. But
Yeah. Let's start in
us
your
coming
town.
together, having civil conversations where we don't insult each other and we ask questions of each other and have a discussion and either, I mean, the truth is the truth.
Right.
And a lot of people these days think that their feelings dictate the truth.
Right.
Like, you might not like what the truth is, but it's still the truth. So, like, you got to get over the fact that it hurts and stings.
Right.
And just accept that, all right, well, this is horrible. How do we fix it now?
Exactly. People deny the truth now so much. It's like,
Well, that hurts my feelings.
Right.
Well, who cares?
No one cares
Sticks
about your
and
feelings.
stones may break your bones, but
Yeah.
words don't hurt you. Like, toughen up.
yeah, suck it up.
Like, I get my feelings hurt too, but you have to, like, swallow your pride or whatever you want to call it, get back in there and try to make things right.
Yeah. There's another story. Like, I'm not going to make it as. I could make it sound so much worse. And if you listen to some places, you'll hear it so much worse. But Nancy Pelosi pushed my daughter to the side. This is the headline. Pushed my daughter to the side at a swearing in ceremony for a newly elected Republican U.S. Rep. Is it Mayor?
Myra.
Myra.
Myra Flores.
I just want to say her name right. And there's a video, and Nancy totally does like put her elbow to this
She
woman's
gives her a
daughter.
little jab to
Little
get
jab.
some space between them. Or
I mean, you'll probably hear some radio stations and places talk about how she's pushing the Mexican girl all the way and all that stuff. But so this is a county.
well, she can't be Mexican because her mom was
Well,
elected, so she's got to be a citizen.
She is Mexican American.
Is she a naturalized citizen?
I'm not 100% sure. I think so. But I don't know for sure. I don't want to say because I'm not 100% sure. But
Yeah, but I mean, she's a person of color, right? She's
she's a Mexican American. How's that?
all right.
She's Mexican.
I got it. I'd like
Andrea's
to think
kids are Mexican, half
Yes.
Mexican.
but they're Americans, like that.
Yes.
So, like when I grew up in Texas, it became like I just always thought we were all Americans. Like, why do we have to have a qualifier?
I agree with that. But the point of this one is she's
Yeah, what you're saying
Spanish
is it'll be on the press. It'll either be no big deal or it'll be
right.
Nancy is assaulting
yeah,
this immigrant family or the half.
Yeah, whatever.
If she's a second generation, not half, but second generation.
But whatever, yeah.
American, whatever.
But my point is that the good thing is for the country, this is another. First of all, she's female, to add into the
Right.
mix of more heavily dominated male government.
Hispanic.
What? Yeah, she's Hispanic American. Whatever. I don't care what you want to say. I'm not politically correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just trying to be accurate because, I mean, I get you can be elected and be a naturalized citizen.
Yeah.
You got Ilhan Omar from Minnesota.
Yeah, that happened quick, didn't it? But anyways, she won a region in southeast Texas that Democrats have won forever.
Oh, so she was the first Mexican-born woman.
Huh.
I stand corrected, man. I just want to make sure
No, I'm just.
we're being accurate with our words because I misspoke yesterday and I was rightfully called out on it.
Yeah. So she's a Mexican American.
Right. So she is a naturalized citizen.
Right. So she was from Mexico. She legally came here, and then she's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger, but she's from Mexico instead of Austria. So I think it's good for our country, obviously, that we have a mix of everyone. And she's female and she's young, and yeah. But yeah, Nancy did totally push her daughter out of the way. It was like,
Well, see, to me, the real story is that she won the seat that has been held by a Democrat,
that is the
and
story.
the Democrat left in the middle of his term to go join a lobbying firm. Once again, adding to my belief that the lobbyists.
It should be illegal.
Yeah.
Remember
I
Trump
mean,
Trump wanted to end that. I remember that, but not that it matters. It's
the lobbyists
neither here nor there.
influence our congressmen and women more than me and you do.
Just like that NASCAR sponsors on their
Right.
coats, like I was telling you. And then the other thing, Pelosi comes all out, pissed off because Roe versus Wade and all that. And this is something she wrote was, while this extremist Supreme Court works to punish and control American people, yeah, the first line is complete BS because the only reason the Supreme Court overturned it, because the Supreme Court never should have taken the case to start with, because it's always been a state's issue. It's always been that way. It's in the Constitution. If you know law, if you know any of that, that's what should have happened. It never should have been voted on before. It was, okay. So she continues. Democrats must continue to fight to expand freedom in America. You want to expand freedom by taking away our guns? What else do you want to take away from us?
Man, those are just talking points. That's
Oh, I know.
lies. That's
And I'm going to take
rhetoric.
their talking points and I'm going to dissect them right here.
All right.
And then doing so is fundamental to the oath of office and our fidelity of the Constitution. That's funny. If this stupid knew anything about the Constitution, she realized the Supreme Court never should have ruled on that to start
She
with.
does know all that. She knows that. That's what's the
Maybe
worst
she's
part.
forgotten because she's like 80-something.
Is she that old? I think she is.
And oath of office, that's funny. Your oath of office is to the American people, not just your party.
Just to uphold the Constitution.
So, yep. It is clear from how Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell stacked the Supreme Court that elections have ramifications. stacked the Supreme Court. People resigned or whatever. He replaced them. Constitutionally, he's bound to. He had no choice. And the House, the both parties vote on that person. So just because Biden's
Well, they're
president,
still mad about Merrick Garland not getting nominated by Obama with like 6
Good
months
thing.
to go. Yeah, because he's proven how trustworthy he is with his
Right.
son-in-law that's in charge, allegedly, of the critical race theory that's taught in
Yeah.
schools that allow it.
Yeah, his son-in-law or son that owns that company that makes millions off of it. But it's funny because she says Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell, who Donald Trump hates Mitch McConnell. Well, I don't know, hate might be a strong
You
word,
think
but
he hates him, or
he's called out him more than anyone else on that side of the party.
well, but he also
I don't like Mitch McConnell either. Goodbye.
Well, Trump got bamboozled by a lot of people that he supported,
True.
and then they all.
Then he had like an 85% or 85 out of 3 or something that he, like during their primaries that he supported. 85 of those people won their primary and only 3 lost it, which tells you the influence that he had. But it is essential that we protect and expand our pro-choice majorities in the House and Senate in November so that we can eliminate the filibuster and so that we can restore women's fundamental rights and the freedom of every American. Thank you for your leadership for the people, Nancy. So your country's going to hell. You pay more for gas. You pay more for everything. Your electric rates are doubling. I mean, in this state. But it all connects. Your food prices are through the roof. There's a baby formula. The Democrats...
Construction costs are up 20%.
Everything. You're right now, this country is 100% controlled by Democrats. But you think in November, make sure you remember it because, the Supreme Court did what the Supreme Court should do. Now, granted, I think they should just left it alone, but they didn't. They said we need to put it to where it's legally supposed to be, and they did. But it's an extremist. It's funny it's an extremist when Democrats disagree with it, but...
Well, it's an activist court when the Republicans disagree with it. So Democrats call it extremist. Republicans will call it an activist because they're not going by the Constitution.
What gets
allegedly.
me is most of these decisions should be 9-0 because
they should look at it and be like,
it should be law,
the Constitution
not
does not
political.
require for this. You have a 3,000-page law for this one thing, and the Constitution has one sentence written about it that says shall not be infringed. That's pretty
cut and dry.
At least for the common man like me.
Yeah.
Shall not be infringed.
Right. So.
But they're going to infringe it with 3,000 pages of word judo, and most of them don't read all 3,000. Like, could you imagine having to sit down and read 3,000 pages and you got to vote on something in 24 hours? You can't do it.
That's the whole point. That's why they throw on all these things.
Because they have lobbyists that write these bills.
Exactly. They don't write these bills.
Allegedly, Elizabeth Warren used to write the commerce bills, and then after she did that as a lobbyist, she got out, went and worked for the same banks that she was restricting, but then she knew all the loopholes that was left in there.
Yeah, that she made.
Allegedly. But you can look that up and make your own informed decision about
That just tells you
her in particular.
Tells you how corrupt they all are. All right, positive meme of the day. Every single thing that has ever happened to you in your life is preparing you for something that is meant to come. So even bad things make you a stronger person. Learn from them.
Well, you got to have some resilience. You got to have some coping mechanisms.
Yeah. Don't get all butthurt because someone doesn't agree with you. Don't go storming off, crying.
Yeah. Or resorting to calling them names.
Yeah, I can be guilty of that, though, sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching today, and get out, enjoy the weather. Friday's going to be a hot day.
Communicate with each other. Get to know everybody.
Yeah. As you can see, someone commented on Facebook, which no one ever comments on Facebook, so it was kind of nice, like, about the voter fraud thing. So I was like, all right, we've cracked that, look into that, whatever, yep. And then someone said, like, we should interview some the head of the town workers or whatever, and why are we losing staff, but it's hard to do. A lot of people say it's the town manager. I don't know. This is what I hear. Everyone hears the same thing. But so I couldn't have someone sit there with their boss and say, "Oh yeah, it's because of my boss." Like,
Well, yeah, it's kind of like,
it's not going to happen.
well, it's like when we went as citizens over the last, a year and a half ago and said, hey, can we be on this COVID committee? Well, how about having some parents on there? And we were told, well, some of the teachers' kids go to school here. But the point is, the teachers are bound, most of them, by the union.
Yes.
And they're also bound to not upset whatever they think that the superintendent wants. Like,
Correct.
I mean, people, that's naturally how, it takes of not being afraid of losing your job or being the one sole person to speak out. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's hard to speak out and say things that aren't necessarily in line with what all the other people around you are saying.
Right.
And so that was why we had asked, like, at least we can have the conversation and maybe we can learn something and then you can convince us to be on your side instead of having us show up every few months and voice our discontent for the policies. Bring us in so that either you win us over or we can talk even more smartly about it and have a discussion in public that we're having in private so that if the other town members feel a certain way, then they can come and voice their support or non-support.
And the thing there, too, is, so if that's a real question for you, like you have that question, the first and third Monday of the month, selectmen meeting, go and ask, open forum, stand right there, say your name, and then say, I'd like to know why.
Do we have a large turnover
Yeah.
in the public works department?
Yeah.
Everywhere. You
all
think it's for
departments.
pay or no?
No.
Well,
I mean, it could be some of it, but no.
you think it's a personality thing between
Yes.
individuals?
Yep.
Well, sometimes that's hard to overcome.
I mean, those are things I've heard. I don't work for Public Works or any other, so, but the other thing, too, super important, and because we forgot to talk about this yesterday, we're trying to do it every day. So, 4th of July is coming up next Monday. Fireworks. Noise Rust fireworks up on the hill, heading out towards Claremont. Stop, see Shannon. Family owned, run business. She owns the business, and so support your local fireworks. If you're getting fireworks, which most people get fireworks. I got to pick my show up, too. That's ready.
What time are you doing your show, by the way? Because Rob and I had a conversation, and I'm pretty much going to Rob's, at least, So
Because your big brother told you what you're going to do?
Yeah, oh, it's family. No, it's family. Come on.
No. What's that, on the 4th?
Yeah.
I think
When are you going to do yours?
I think we might do them on Saturday for Lisa's graduation party.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So,
So then it'll work out.
yeah. Yeah, it should work out. And then
I won't
obviously,
feel guilty about leaving his early to get to yours.
no, you'd be good. It's all good.
That's awesome.
It'll work out. Hopefully it's nice this weekend. Fingers crossed.
Well, it's going to be hot Friday. Then
Wow.
it's supposed to rain Saturday morning, which will
Hopefully.
be good for the fireworks because it clears
Oh,
up,
so for the
allegedly,
morning, yeah.
according to the...
Traveling. Wicked Awesome Adventures. LLC. Anything travel related. So if you want to go to
Does she
the
just do
Caribbean-
hotels? Or is it flights?
She do flights too, but I mean more specializes in like cruises, all inclusive, destination stuff. If you want to have a destination wedding, perfect. Reach out to her on that. If you want to, a lot of times you see cruises will do like family reunion kind of things, stuff like that. Any of that stuff, any of that travel stuff, and she can help with flights too. And then she always has like specials because she'll know like for some reason it's this place is running a special this week on whatever. Go to Costa Maya and blah 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 for cheap, and it's like whoa. So
I'm kind of concerned about Zeta because Zeta flies out next week, and they have all these cancellations because of weather, allegedly.
yeah, I've heard
You
a
know,
lot.
I have it on good authority because I know somebody in the business that it's because most of the pilots took a buyout because they didn't want to submit to the requirements that they were trying to put onto them. I mean, like, I have it on really good authority. Like, this isn't like some Steven conspiracy theory. This is, I know somebody in the business.
So this would be the importance of travel insurance.
So they're canceling all these flights, and I have it to where she's going to visit grandma and grandpa on the way there, then other grandma and grandpa on the way back. Right, so like her flights
Yeah.
are going to put her all around the country, and so I just don't want her to get stranded. Which we did buy. I did buy the insurance this time because last time I did not.
If you're ever leaving the country, you always buy the insurance, no matter what. If you're just flying like this, what she's doing, it's not as big of a deal. But you
Well, it's important that
always-
she gets to
Yes, no, no.
Montana for her registration.
Yeah, that's really important.
It's like,
And obviously, if you want to get your driveway paved, Twin State Paving, reach out sooner than later.
you keep looking at me because I really need to get mine seal coated, but like with the increase of cost of everything else, it's like, I have to prioritize. So do I try to go one more winter with me sealing some of the bigger cracks or all the cracks?
You at least
myself?
have them come out and give you a price.
Yeah, that's true. Then I can save for it.
I'll do it for you, Steve.
No, you don't have to do it for me. I'll call them up. Get an estimate and
What's the deadline, you think? Like, what should I give you for a time period before I just do it?
tomorrow. What do I got going on the rest of the day? I don't have much going on today. I'm going to go out there and work in the garden. Today
Okay.
is garden day.
We're going to talk about this tomorrow.
Let's see if I call and set up a.
Yes.
Can I email?
Yeah? Yeah.
I'll call. Will they recognize me if I say, "Hey, it's Steve from the Tim and Steve Show," or do they only know Tim?
If you're like the sweet sounds of Raul, they're like, oh my God, it's that guy. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow.